The Welcome back. The boost that the morale boost that was given by the Declaration of Independence dissipates after the fall of 1776, uh, with uh, Washington just running out of Brooklyn and running out of New York, crossing the Hudson River, and scattering into the forests of New Jersey. Um, they they had to wonder what was going to happen next. New York is lost, and where is their help? Are the Dutch going to loan them money? Will the French army and navy, uh, come to their rescue? Join, join the American side. Well, uh, would you take that bet? I bet you wouldn't. I wouldn't either. The French are hanging back. The Dutch are hanging back. Everybody is waiting to see if this is just going to fall to pieces. And in the fall and going into the winter of 1776, that's exactly what it looked like. In New York itself, the civilians that stayed behind go about their business, and the farmers out on Long Island, and many of them appearing to be loyalists, uh, however, in many cases were part of the Culper spy ring. Uh, there was a series a couple of years ago called Washington Spies, and tells the very very true story of the spies for the American cause that were in downtown Manhattan. Okay, a man named Rivington himself, who bears the name whose name is now a street name in Lower Manhattan. You might have heard, if you're a fan of Hamilton, you might have heard of Hercules Mulligan, who was a tailor and also a spy for Washington. Uh, and like I said, out on Long Island, there were a number of spy rings trying to get anything they could from the British occupying New York and feeding it to Washington over in Jersey. But the truth of the matter is that Washington needed a win, and needed one badly, and it was not going to be coming anytime soon, uh, especially with the tatters that of military force that Washington ends up with in New Jersey. Um, but by December, and specifically Christmas, December 25th, 1776, the the forces of Washington have regrouped, and under the again miserable winter weather, absolutely abysmal winter weather, Washington crosses the Delaware. Now you may have seen pictures or reenactments of this, but the uh, main collection of his forces uh, come from the Pennsylvania side of the Delaware River. They cross through ice and and, uh, and cold water of the Delaware, and on the morning of Christmas morning of 1776, he joins forces with uh, a second force coming through New Jersey, and they attack the British barracks and Hessian barracks at Trenton. The Battle of Trenton is the win that Washington desperately needs and gets. It's a decisive win. On January 3rd, not too far away from Trenton is the town of Princeton, New Jersey, where the university was and is to this day. And he forces Lord Cornwallis's troops to retreat out of New Jersey and back up into New York City. That is a big win. It's a moral victory, and it's an actual military victory for the ragtag army. But that's about it for a while. Okay. In the fall of now we're into 1777, and there isn't a lot that is advantageous for the American forces. Actually, the British march on Philadelphia, and they overtake the colonial capital. And the Second Continental Congress has to flee out of the city and into exile, and continue their work in exile. I should have said this before. It was not proper, to use a British term, for armies to carry on warfare, fight each other during the winter months. What you would do is take your forces and go into winter camp, okay, and you'd lick your wounds per se. You'd regroup, and you would strengthen your forces and just hunker down until spring came. And once the spring came and the thaw came and winter broke, then you would get your troops back in action and start fighting the war again. That's how we come up with Valley Forge. Now, Valley Forge is in Pennsylvania. It's not that far away in terms of miles. It's an historic site. That's where what was left of Washington's troops camped out and hunkered down and nearly totally went out of business in the winter of 1777. Okay. But hold on one second, please. So, while General Howe and his forces chase Washington into Pennsylvania and into winter camp in Valley Forge and overtake Philadelphia, and where it is thought that maybe all is lost, maybe Washington can't continue. There is something going on up north in Saratoga, New York, which is north, about a half hour north by car these days, north of Albany. Okay, so about a three and a half hour drive from where we are today. And as you might know, Saratoga Springs and Saratoga is known for a couple of things. Number one, mineral water, and also the fact that there is a racetrack up in Saratoga where people during the summer then congregate and watch horse racing and probably bet a lot of money on horse racing. But anyway, Saratoga is strategic. Now Washington is suffering down in Pennsylvania, but we're upstate New York now, north of New York, and it was believed that this could be the death knell if then we're able to split the colonies even further. But General Horatio Gage and Benedict Arnold are up in central New York, on the northern part of the Hudson River. Excuse me. And there's a major battle with General John Burgoyne, and this The Battle of Saratoga is the decisive and strategic victory for General Gage and Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold is severely wounded, uh, and in this battle, and because of his heroics, which is going to come into play later on. He doesn't get the full recognition for what he did, but Saratoga is the turning point. September of 1777. While it looks like all is lost down in Pennsylvania, up north, the Battle of Saratoga is going to turn the tide for the American Revolution. Okay, it's going to be a win. It's going to be a big win. And what does that mean, a big win? It means that the French take notice. Okay? Since the beginning of the American Revolution, the Second Continental Congress decided that they would trade with all of Europe, excepting, of course, Great Britain. This way, when our ambassadors went to the capitals of Europe, like Paris or Amsterdam, they could say that, well, we welcome trade with you, with the Dutch, with the French, etc. And this way, and the British blockade of the colonies did not really work like it was supposed to. So the lines of shipping were porous, and a lot of goods got through, including French gunpowder, which was a big help. But after the Battle of Saratoga, the French and the Dutch take a look at this and reevaluate and say, well, maybe, this might be a horse that we can back, we can run on, if you will. The Battle of Saratoga, ironically, then, is a horse that the Europeans can back. Colonists might just win this. So anyway, the victory leads to the French alliance, okay, and both the French and the Americans agree to a common cause and to aid each other against Britain, okay. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And in March of 1778, France declares war on Great Britain, and $10 million and the French army and the French Navy all come in to play. Now, it's at this point in time that the strategy of the British turns towards the south. Okay, they were not overly successful with their strategy up north. They figured New York and the middle colonies had enough loyalist supporters, enough Tories, that they would gain backing, and that does not fully come to fruition. They turn their attention to the south. Now, if you've ever seen the movie, it's called The Patriot, not the one about the terrorist on the ship with Steven Seagal. No, this is the one with Mel Gibson, such as it is, and it's good for what it is, but it does have some historical fact in it, and one of the facts is that the southern colonies, the plantation colonies, the ones with that were practicing slavery, plantation slavery, and enslaving so many million of African Americans. They felt themselves most akin to the British because they thought of themselves as aristocracy, American aristocracy. But in any case, the British felt that they could play on this, and what they do is they decide to bring the war down south. And there are a number of battles that will take place from 1778 forward, and they take place in Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina. Okay, Savannah, Charleston. Okay, the battle of battles in the various places down south. And there's a good amount of success in this southern strategy. Uh, but the British march on Yorktown, Virginia, and in 1781, the Battle of Yorktown, October 1781. Now, this is probably the biggest battle of the war. It involves the Continental Army, full strength Continental Army, and the French Navy, the British Navy. The British Navy does not get there in time. The French Navy blockades Yorktown, Virginia, cutting them off from cutting the British forces off from their supplies, and Lafayette, the Marquis de Lafayette, who comes to Washington's side, and Alexander Hamilton, who is now allowed to take a battlefield commission and get out there and fight, and show his mettle, defeats Lord Cornwallis at the Battle of Yorktown decisively. The British forces surrender, and again, if you're a fan of Hamilton the musical, you know that the end of Act 1 is the Battle of Yorktown. And Lord Cornwallis does not want to be disgraced, so he does not attend the surrender. He gives his junior officer his sword so that it can be presented to Lafayette and Washington and Hamilton. The French Navy again surround the British, and on October 19th, it's the world turned upside down. October 19th, 1781, the world turned upside down. That is the British drinking song that the band, the British band, plays as they are surrendering. They take their muskets and spike their muskets into the ground, and the bayonets into the ground, and they march away in disgrace. Okay, the world turned upside down. How could this have possibly happened? How does this ragtag bunch of rebels, these traitors, actually defeat the world's most powerful army and navy? Well, with a little help from their friends. Okay, it's not until 1783 that the American delegation meets in Paris with the British forces, and they sign the peace treaty known as the Treaty of Paris 2 years later. But 1775 to 1783, that's the American Revolution from start to finish. And for the most part, Washington is basically trying to keep what troops he has intact, to run away, to keep fighting until he has the strength to deliver a blow to the British forces. The Treaty of Paris gives the world the United States of America. There is an independent United States of America. The boundaries go from the Mississippi River, the Great Lakes, and to the Florida-Georgia border, or Florida-Georgia line, as you might say. There is no punishment for the loyalists who did not side with the American cause, and there we have it. We have a United States of America, just as the Declaration of Independence declared, and now we're on our own. Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.